Hello, buddy. All right, today is Tuesday, March the 11th, 2025. Um, Welcome to the Mikestand. I hope everybody's having a good week thus far. Of course, we're going to give people a chance to come in before we get started here. Um, so, you know, and I'll go over what's on tap here in a moment. What's on tap for tonight in a moment here. Um, I did watch some more cartoons today, of course. Watch some Merry Melodies, some from 1935, some Buddy, some you know Color Rhapsody, Rainbow Parade, a few cartoons. By 1935, of course, you do see how some of the more you have the singular feature cartoon like Looney Tunes with Buddy as a star, where and you still had like Betty Boop, Popeye, still in black and white, but you did have some other features, some other series that were going color. You had like Merry Melodies going color, Happy Harmonies, Cartoon Classics, Color Rhapsody, Rainbow Parade, Comic Color. So um, Terry Tunes are still pretty much doing all their shorts in black and white. So, um, yeah, anyways, let's see what else. Yeah, so let's see at the 2 minute mark here. Popeye the Sailor Man. Oh, we got four people in here now. All right, so I guess I'll just talk about what's on tap for tonight then. So tonight I'm gonna go over a couple of articles from Founding in the Comics. Um, One of them where Tom Brevoort reminding us once again how he seems to be clued as to what the fans want. As even though it's popular and it's proving to be the evidence shows that it's popular, the chances of bringing Peter Parker and Mary Jane back together in the main canonical universe of Marvel is not going to happen. In Ultimate Spider-Man, it's proving to be a very popular thing, but but we don't care that everybody likes it. Apparently, according to him, I guess. But we'll get into that article. Also, let's see, what's the other article we're going to be going over tonight? Uh, Absolute Flash writer Jeff Lemire talks about his goal for the new DC for his new DC comic. So those plus we got those plus we got of course we'll have the wrestling wrap up. We'll talk about what happened on last night's Monday Night Raw. Quite a bit of stuff happened, as well as look ahead to tonight's NXT, and we'll get into this day in each history. So let me just do this real quick. We now kind of jumped ahead to. All right. So with that being said, and as always, guys, if you haven't already, you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream. See if we get some more friendly, some more friendly people to see. If you can like and share the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people involved to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. Let's see now. Alright, so let me do one last little attempt here to see if I can draw in some more viewers, and then we will see anybody here. Alright. With that being said. Alright, so with that being said, then let's go ahead and get going here. Let's go ahead and share the bounty in the comic site. Get ourselves prepared for Alright, so Marvel Comics executive editor rejects idea that Peter Parker and MJ should get back together due to popularity of Ultimate Spider-Man. Quote, it doesn't really make a convincing argument to me at all. Unquote. Which, that statement right there just shows you how clueless he is, right? Dude seems to be quite arrogant and conceited to ignore what the fans are wanting. But anyways, article by Spencer McCulley published earlier today. So let's get into this. In standing firmly opposed to wider fan sentiment, Marvel Comics executive editor Tom Brevoort says that while their romance has played to rousing applause in Ultimate Spider-Man Volume 3, he does not believe the series' current popularity presents a convincing enough case for restoring Peter Parker and Mary Jane's marriage in the 616. Now, for those of you who don't know, 616 is the numbered universe given to Marvel in terms of the whole multiverse concept, which of course started with DC and all that. But that's basically where the main Marvel continuity is. The mainline Marvel continuity. Brevoort, who also serves as the current overseer of the publisher's X-Men line, provided his take on the current Spider marriage discourse while answering fan questions for the March 9th edition of his weekly Man with a Hat Substack blog. Asked as to his thoughts on the, quote, recurring idea that the success of the new Ultimate Spider-Man, in parentheses here, with a married Peter Parker, is an indication that the regular 616 Peter's marriage to MJ should be reinstated, and that it is a fault of the editors over there for not recognizing that and thus reaping similar sales success, unquote. The Marvel Comics editor responded with the firm declaration, quote, yeah, I've been hearing from a couple of yahoos whose idea of a good time is to send us the same form letter about MJ and Paul every single day. But here's the thing. I think the point of view that you're talking about is simply incorrect. Unquote. Quote, first off, the difference in sales between Ultimate Spider-Man and Amazing Spider-Man is relatively slim, unquote, said Brevoort. Quote, it's not like Ultimate is doing twice or three times the business or anything. And secondly, I don't think that the success of Ultimate at the moment is just down to Pete and MJ being married within it. Now, granted, that may be true. There may be other factors that are contributing, but obviously that is a contributing factor. That is something that fans are obviously gravitating to because fans have been wanting for a long time to see Peter and MJ married. So, I mean, It's a contributing factor. It may not be the factor, but it's a contributing factor. I think it has a lot more to do with the quality of the work Jonathan Hickman and Marco Cicchetto are producing, unquote. So, with that being said, does that mean that basically he believes that Hickman and Cicchetto are actually a better writer artist combo than the guys doing the main main canon stories? I mean, if that's the case, why not bring them over to the main canon then to write the stories and all that? You know, that's just something that obviously pick up on based on what he said right there. Quote, so I get that people who want Pete and MJ back together are, of course, going to point to that series. But the truth is that it doesn't really make a convincing argument to me at all, unquote. Of course it doesn't. Of course it doesn't, because the whole idea of traditional values just goes totally over his head. He concluded, quote, I've been around this particular sort of block too many times over the years to mistake the signals, unquote. Admittingly, Bravort isn't completely wrong in his assertions, but he's also not completely right. Per publicly available sales information provided by comic book retailer specific news outlet ICV2, while Ultimate Spider-Man Volume 3 does outsell Amazing Spider-Man Volume 6, it does not completely blow away its Earth 616 counterpart. For example, in November 2024, Amazing Spider-Man Volume 6, number 61, came just behind Ultimate Spider-Man Volume 3, number 11, in total sales and units moved. And though the months since have seen Ultimate Spider-Man Volume 3 pull ahead in both metrics. Now, for those of you who don't know, total sales and units moved. Total sales is the total dollar amount they're talking about when they say total sales. That's the actual money that's coming in. Units moved just simply means the number of copies that are being sold. So, so that's kind of like, so number of copies of the book that's being sold. So just an FYI. In both metrics, the gap in either category hasn't yet been larger than 5 books. But still, it should say something to you that if it is consistently pulling it, even if it's just a minute amount, if it's always doing better than the other book, that should tell you something. Further, Amazing Spider-Man Volume 6's standings are helped by the fact that not only is it published tri-monthly, but every issue also manages to rank among the month's best-selling, and in parentheses, and sad to say, that's on readers, unparentheses. Yeah, so I guess Amazing Spider-Man comes out every 3 months, I guess, is what they're saying, while Ultimate comes out monthly. However, this competition really only pertains on individual issues. Conversely, when looking at the monthly top 20 graphic novel sales charts compiled since its September 2024 release, the first Ultimate Spider-Man Volume 3 trade paperback, appropriately subtitled Married with Children, has consistently ranked as one of the top 3 best-selling books across the industry, and absolutely zero Amazing Spider-Man collections have even placed. Well, there's another piece of evidence that supports the fans' point of view. Ultimate Spider-Man with Peter and Mary Jane as a married couple is consistently at the top of in terms of graphic, sales novels. Um, Whereas Amazing Spider-Man collections are not even placing. So this comparison gets even worse when looking at the relevant numbers for the whole of 2024, as despite being available for just 4 months, said Ultimate Spider-Man Volume 3 trade still closed out the year the third best-selling graphic novel units and fifth by total dollars. In other words, while comic book readers and speculators may be buying each issue of Amazing Spider-Man Volume 6, readers outside of this demographic, including those both new and returning, are clamoring for Ultimate Spider-Man Volume 3. And while it would be nice to be able to point to this discrepancy as proof that even casual readers want Peter Parker and MJ back together, and while that may still be separately true, the more realistic answer is that word of mouth regarding the absolute banger of a job the aforementioned duo of Hickman and Chichetto have been delivering over on Earth 6160. All in all, while the early numbers do look good for the pro-Spider marriage faction, the true test of interest will be determined by whether or not the series can retain this interest well into its future. Parentheses. And honestly, if its creative team can pull it off, we could be looking at a truly legendary run. Unparentheses. Yeah, to basically go against what the editor, what one of the main editors is saying, to basically debunk what he said, what Brevoort said, if this were to have, as I said, a legendary run. Let's see now. So that's it for that article. Let's see. Of course, a friendly reminder here, if you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people in here to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So let's see now. Let's see now. Let me just. Yeah, see if I can. All right. So, anyways, let's move on to the next article here. All right. So here's the next article. This is one from DC. Absolute Flash and comic book writer Jeff Lemire says his goal with new DC series was to, quote, make a great comic that celebrates comics, unquote, and, quote, channel the energy of the Silver Age, but with a modern sensibility, unquote. So I wonder what that all means. Guess we'll find out. Article by Spencer McCooley, published today. According to series scribe Jeff Lemire, while it may take place in a terribly bleak universe, Absolute Flash Volume 1 aims to strike a fine red and gold colored balance between the quote the energy of the Silver Age, unquote, and the book's more contemporary setting. Perhaps best known for his work on Green Arrow Volume 5, Lemire provided this insight into his take on the Scarlet Speedster while speaking with AIPT's David Brooke in promotion of the series' upcoming release. Beginning with some thoughts on his decision to not only center the book on a teenage version of the third man to wear the mantle, Wally West. That's of course after Jay Garrick and Barry Allen. But also make him the only Flash to ever exist in the Absolute Universe. Lemire detailed, quote, for me, the one thing I really wanted to hook into was the sense of really having Wally as a teenager again, unquote. Quote, using his powers as almost a metaphor for all things we go through at that age, figuring out who we are and what the world is and our place in it, unquote, he explained. Quote, if he had a mentor, if there had been other Flashes before him, it kind of undercuts that, unquote. Interesting take. Interesting take on that. Quote, he doesn't know what's happening, unquote. Lemire further detailed of Wally's forthcoming run. Quote, it's terrifying. We get to see him learning his powers for the first time. Even Barry Allen had Jay Garrick comic books as a frame of well, post-crisis, Barry Allen probably had Jay Garrick to look up to. Pre-crisis, he did not, because they were in two different universes. Okay, so a slight correction there. Pre-crisis on Infinite Earths, 1985, Barry more or less had to figure it out for himself as an adult because they were in totally different universes. Okay, Jay and post-crisis, it probably came about post-crisis on Infinite Earths, 1985. They were in the same universe, but our Wally has zero reference, and it's actually quite terrifying what's happening to his body and mind, unquote. Quote, the Absolute Universe kind of isolates these characters, makes them underdogs, unquote. The writer added, quote, it builds towards something bigger, unquote. To this end, Lemire then noted that rather than telling a purely action-oriented tale, Absolute Flash, Volume 1, would instead strike a 70-30 balance between character drama and traditional superhero punch-em-ups. Quote, for me, all the action and superhero elements come out of Wally's emotional state, unquote. He explained, quote, it's pretty easy to balance the introspective drama with the spectacle when it's all playing off each other. And then you get an artist like Nick, in brackets here, Robles, whose strength is deep character work. So you want to play to those strengths, unquote. Quote, just doing straight superhero action is not always the most compelling on its own, unquote, he opined. Quote, balancing it with character work is what I love to do, unquote. Following quick sprints into Absolute Wally's relationship with his father, Rudy West, and his version of the Rogues, Lemire ultimately would down the interview by speaking to the storytelling freedom that the brand new universe, with its lack of established canon, afforded to him. Quote, one of the things that freed me up was knowing that this wasn't replacing the regular DC universe, he detailed. Quote, fans still have the Wally West they know and love in the DCU. That allowed us to do something different, unquote. Noting that he wasn't trying to reinvent Wally's character, Lemire ultimately asserted, quote, I'm just trying to make a great comic that celebrates comics, unquote. Now, mind you, when they had the multiverse stuff going on too, you did have you did have like differences in characters and all that, had a lot of the character development differentiated because you had, different versions, like in life, oftentimes when you come to certain situations, there are many paths that you go on. Not just the path that most people know of, but there's probably several paths you can go on, several, tributaries. Quote, superhero characters are everywhere now, film, TV, games, but we need to get back to what makes comics unique, unquote, he concluded. Quote, I want to channel the energy of the Silver Age, but with a modern sensibility, unquote. All right, and before I do continue on, I do need to step away for, actually, it's almost done, so I'll just finish this up, then I'll go off camera for a moment. Banning any unforeseen shipping disruptions, Absolute Flash Volume 1, Number 1, is currently set to hit shelves on March 19th, which is 1 week from tomorrow, parentheses, and given Wally's fan favorite status, one can only hope that Lemire's work on the Speed Force turns out better than his current run on JSA Volume 2. So there we go with that. Let me just go ahead and... Alright, so yeah, nothing new there. Let's see, we're at the 26-minute mark here. I am going to go off camera for a moment to I do need to step away from the camera for a moment, so I will be right back. I'll leave the time for you guys when I'm done. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. So, anyways, I'm gonna take a quick peek around, see if I can find any other articles to go over before moving on to the next segment here. See if maybe there's anything here that might be of some interest here as we are a little. We're just past the 30 minute mark. So I think if I can find a quickie, I'll do one more article here. If not, then we'll move on to the wrestling wrap up. So just and again, if you haven't already, if you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people in here. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, um, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. That one, I'm looking more for quickies. That one though sounds like. That one we might want to save for tomorrow. One we might want to save for tomorrow. Just. I know I might be mumbling to myself. I'm just like looking over some stuff here. To again, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. La 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 la. Anyways, let's see. Actually, this one looks interesting. I think I have found something to kind of go over that might be a little, something a little, maybe not as much, not, quite as harsh, but something a little bit more lighter. But let's over on Me TV tunes here. One Hit Wonders voice acting edition. So yes, even in voice acting, they're like, I guess, one hit wonders. Just like there is in music. Let's hear it for the one hit wonders. So let's kind of take a look and see what all this is all about here. So the world of voice actors has plenty of heavy hitters with actors like Mel Blanc and Don Messick appearing in hundreds, if not thousands, of cartoons. But just like the music industry, there are plenty of one-hit wonders. Of course, aside from Mel Blanc and Don Messick, there's also, of course, Daws Butler, June Foray, Janet Waldo, Gene Vanderpill. Let's see, Jim Cummings has done a lot of stuff. So there's quite a few out there who've been in a lot of things. Frank Welker is another one. Some voice actors find one character and stick with them through through career changes or voice one character and then decide to pivot. This list is all about celebrating the one-hit wonders, the voice actors who only voiced one character, and the wonderful cartoon characters they gave us. Let's take a look at some memorable vocal performances. George O'Hanlon. Talk about your namesake here. So, George O'Hanlon. Actor and comedian George O'Hanlon only ever voiced one cartoon character, George Jetson. In 1989, after experiencing a headache in the recording booth, he died of a stroke during the production of Jetsons the movie. The movie was dedicated to him, and co-star Mel Blanc, who also passed away mid-production, he played the role of George Jetson for over 20 years, starting, of course, in 1962 and well up until the very end there, with that last role in the Jetsons the movie. That was also the movie. I believe that was the one where they kind of replaced Janet Waldo as Julie Jetson with Tiffany, if I remember correctly. Penny Singleton, another one from the Jetsons family. Penny Singleton. So, like her cartoon husband, the voice of Jane Jetson was mostly a radio and live action actress. Singleton was known for originating the role of Blonde Bombshell, Blondie Bernstead from the Blondie comics. She was also a labor activist, serving as president of the American Guild of Variety Artists and leading a month-long strike for the Radio City Rockettes for better working conditions. Nicole Jaffe. Jinkies, the voice of Velma Dinkley, the original voice of Velma Dinkley, began her career as a live-action actress, and she even co-starred with Elvis in The Trouble with Girls. Future Scooby-Doo castmate Frank Welker played a minor role in that movie. She originated the voice of Velma in 1969 and continued to play her until 2012. So that's 43 years right there. She played Velma for 43 years. Get that, folks? 43 years as one character. That's quite a... While Jaffe provided additional voices for Captain Caveman and the Teen Angels, she did not commit to another cartoon character besides Velma. She retired from acting in 1973 to become a talent agent, but she made exceptions for Velma. Heather North. So we get another pair from this time from Scooby-Doo here. The original voice actress for Daphne left Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? After season 1. The original voice actress was Stefano Christopherson, I believe. Christopherson. Stefania Christopherson. Nicole Jaffe recommended her roommate Heather North to audition for Daphne. Before she got the role, North had appeared in several TV shows, including Paradise Bay and Days of Our Lives. Aside from a brief stint as Lonnie on Captain Caveman, North only ever voice acted for Daphne. Barbara Minkus. Barbara Minkus acted in over 30 productions, but only two cartoons: Pac-Man and Christmas Comes to Pac-Man. She played Mrs. Pepper Pac-Man. So the only role she played was the wife of Pac-Man on the back in the 80s there when they were doing a whole bunch of video game cartoons. Danny Dark. Many of us would have grown up hearing this man's voice in the from 1973 all the way through to 1985. Danny Dark played Superman on Super Friends. Aside from providing additional voices on Super Friends spin-off Plastic Man, he never starred in another cartoon. Dark forged himself a new path as a commercial voiceover artist, recording commercials for Budweiser, Keebler, and many other brands. It's funny how they're doing a lot of pairing off of characters. I mean, the only one off here thus far in this whole list was Barbara Minkus. Everybody else has been part of a pair, right? Part of a twosome. Olan Soleil. Okay, so let's see what he has to say here, because Soleil's voice has been described as, quote, chameleon-like, unquote. He appeared in over 7,000 radio, film, television, and commercial productions. Beginning as a child actor on the radio show Bachelor's Children, he is known as the voice of Batman and Super Friends, but he also played the cartoon caper in the new Scooby-Doo movies and Sesame Street. Aside from providing the English dubbing for Master Taj in Fantastic Planet, the only cartoon character he ever voiced was Batman. And well, that's not entirely true. All right, I was wondering if they were going. That's not entirely true because yes, Batman was the main character he did, but in the last season of Super Friends, Galactic Guardians, after Ken Sampson had initially played the role of Professor Stein, one half of Firestorm, in Super Friends: The Legendary Power Team, and I believe that was in part due to the fact that he moved on to voicing Hound in Transformers. Olan Soleil was what actually played the role, voiced the role of Professor Stein in Galactic Guardians, as they brought in Adam West to voice Batman in the Galactic Guardians part of Super Friends. So, little tidbit there. William Roberts. Michigan J. Frog is one of the few Looney Tunes characters who wasn't voiced by Mel Blanc. In addition to being an actor, Williams was a singer and band leader, which was the kind of energy Chuck Jones needed for One Froggy Evening. Not much is known of Williams' life except that Michigan J. Frog was his last credited acting role. Now, granted, Mel Blanc played the majority of the male characters in Looney Tunes, with William Roberts portraying Michigan J. Frog, and of course, Arthur Q. Bryan. Well, Mel Blanc, I believe, took over the role of Elmer Fudd, but initially, prior to his passing in 1959, Arthur Q. Bryan portrayed Elmer Fudd in Looney Tunes as well. So, Arthur Q. Bryan, speak of the ghost. Bryan was known for his voice acting work in radio, but the only cartoon character he ever played was Elmer Fudd, a character he voiced for 19 years. After Bryan's death in 1959, the Looney Tunes animators temporarily retired Elmer Fudd. I think they did eventually bring him back, but Paul Julian. Unlike the other voice actors on this list, Julian was not an actor at all. He was an animator and background artist at Termite Terrace, who was known for saying beep beep at people who were in his way. This inside joke later became the catchphrase of the only character Julian would ever voice, the Roadrunner. Beep beep. And there we have it. So that's all we got for you for the articles tonight. So that was a kind of a fun one to go over. Talking about talking about some of those one-hit wonder voice actors. Looney Tunes obviously had a few of them, but for the most part, prior to the Looney Tunes characters, with the outside of the Looney Tunes characters and Barbara Minkus, all the other representations there were duos from several shows. So, but with that, let's get into the wrestling wrap up right now. As we're gonna look back to last night's Monday Night Raw and look ahead to tonight's NXT. So let me just go grab those. So first off, looking back to last night's Monday Night Raw here, which came from the Madison Square Garden Arena in New York City. Michael Cole and Pat McAfee on commentary. In the opening match, saw Jey Uso defeat Grayson Waller with Gunther, Jey Uso's WrestleMania opponent, attacking him after the match. Again, trying to just show Jay that he's not at his level. Then you saw in a tornado tag match, the New Day of Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods defeat LWO members Dragon Lee and Rey Mysterio with some help from a masked wrestler who came out, and many people believe it may have been Chad Gable, who's been kind of on a quest to kind of learn how to challenge luchadors at their own game. So, in an interview later, of course, they showed that Gable was, while he was being interviewed, the supposed masked man who was supposed to be him was actually being escorted. You could see he was being escorted out of the building. In a number one contendership match for the women's Intercontinental title, Raquel Rodriguez, with the help of Judgment Day members Liv Morgan and Dominic Mysterio, defeated Bayley. She's now the number one contender to Lyra Valkyria's Intercontinental title. The main event saw Seth Rollins defeat CM Punk in a steel cage match, only to be attacked by Roman Reigns, making his return from injury after Survivor Series, I believe. The potentially set up a match between a triple threat match between Punk, Rollins, and Reigns. Now, some other happenings that happened on there as well is while as Io Sky, the current WWE Women's World Champion, was being interviewed, she was interrupted by, at first, Bianca Belair, and then by Rhea Ripley. Now, at first, Bianca was trying to explain her position to Io when Rhea came out and ended up de-escalating to where Rhea and Bianca were getting into each other's faces. And Io was not having it. Io was not out. She's the champion. and yet she's being treated like the odd man out here. She's a champion, and she was just not down with the disrespect being given to her. So basically she ended up slapping both of them down and really just having a little bit of a fit because, like, hey, I'm the champion. Don't ignore me. You know, now, as of right now, Io Sky is set to defend, of course, the women's world champion against Bianca Belair at WrestleMania. There's some talk that they might make it a triple threat match, pitting Sky against both Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley. As originally they were teasing the idea of the possible dream match of Bianca Belair, the EST, and Rhea Ripley going 1-on-1. So there's more to this story to come, obviously. So now looking ahead to tonight, because I think tonight is the Roadblock event for NXT. Let me just see if I can pull that up here real quick. There's some major stuff going on at the Roadblock event tonight on NXT on the CW. You know, stuff going on between Roadblock 2025. Also coming from New York, from the theater at Madison Square Garden. CW. On tonight's show, of course, you have in a New York City street fight, Ethan Page, All Ego Ethan Page, takes on Javon Evans. Jordan Grace looks to continue her winning streak. She takes on former NXT Women's Champion Roxanne Perez. Oba Femi defends the NXT title against TNA X Division Champion Moose. The TNA World Tag Team titles will be defended on tonight's Roadblock, as the Hardy Boys, Jeff and Matt Hardy, will be defending the TNA World Tag Team titles against Fraxium of the NXT Tag Team Champions, Axiom, and Nathan Frazier. And then in a match what they believe is a unification match for the not necessarily a unification match, but in a match for both the NXT Women's and NXT Women's North American titles. Women's North American Champion Stephanie Vaquer takes on Women's Champion Julia. So that's what's all going down right now. That's what to look forward to on tonight. And we're done with the wrestling wrap-up. So with that being said, we're now going to go ahead and take take a look back at this day in each history, with today being Tuesday, March the 11th, 2025. Let's take a look back at this day in each history. So first off, I'm going to head back 90 years ago. And on this date, 90 years ago here, on this date, 90 years ago today, Walter Lantz Productions, Two Little Lambs premiered in movie theaters on this date back in. So this was an Oswald cartoon. Where two little lambs steal Oswald's airplane and take a wild joyride at and through an air meet. So they soon drive the other contestants out of the sky and the race and win the meet for Oswald, who has managed to get on board by lassoing the airplane. So 90 years ago today, Two Little Lambs from an Oswald cartoon from from Walter Land's production, premiered on this date back in 1935. So getting ready to move on to the next the next piece of niche history as we go head back 25 years ago today. On this date, 25 years ago today, from Sewell, New Jersey, Combat Zone Wrestling had its March Violence event on this date 25 years ago today. Main event saw Wife Beater defeat Lobo for the CZW Iron Man title. And yes, there was a wrestler named Wife Beater, and as I recall, he wore a wife beater as part of his wrestling attire. You also saw Zandig defend the CZW heavyweight title against Cronus, and that match ended in a no contest. The Haas brothers, Charlie and Russ Haas, retained the CZW tag team titles over the Shane twins. He had 3 future world tag team title holders. As Charlie Haas, of course, would hold the WWE tag team title, and the Shane twins would be NWA world tag team champions. And that's all we got for you on there. And now moving ahead to 2015. On this date in 2015. On this date in 2015, the 665th and penultimate issue of the first volume of Archie went on sale on this date back in 2015, 10 years ago today. Sold for $3.99, 32 pages. The story was Writer's Blockhead, written and penciled by Dan Parent, with inked by Rich Kozlowski. Jack Morelli did the lettering, and Glenn Whitmore did the coloring. So on this date, 10 years ago today, back in 2015, the 665th and penultimate issue of Volume 1 of Archie went on sale on this date 10 years ago today. So with that, I do thank everybody for being here tonight. I hope everybody enjoyed the show. We'll be back here tomorrow night with more niche news. Also, we'll be back here on Sunday. On Sunday, of course, we'll have Apex from Apex Comics join me, as we will be looking at comics went on sale back in March of 1940, focusing in on Archie comics. I think we'll be finishing up the Moscovian Menace storyline. So with that, I thank everybody for being here, and I hope to see everybody back here tomorrow. Bye!